Hey YouTube, how you doing? This is Real Talk, and I'm coming to you with a new episode. And this episode will discuss. In this episode, we'll discuss the people that were trying to get out and the people that have been speaking out and what has happened to them, as far as the celebrities that are kind of tired and stuff. So we're gonna look into that, and I'll give you my opinion and my perspective on it. So let's get started. Okay, upper right corner, we got Cat Williams. Okay, we all know what's been happening with him. He got in, because he thought it was all good. He's the fastest rising comic. He's hecka funny, but he definitely tells a lot of truth. And because he's telling too much truth, they had to put a cap on him, and at one point he was quitting. He retired. They took his kids from him. They just kept messing with him, instigating fights with him because he wasn't obeying his oath. Because he had to take the oath before they were gonna start raising him up, putting him on HBO specials and all that stuff. So I'm not exactly sure where he's at now. He's doing his stand-up comedy tours, but they're not representing him, I think. So he's still bucking, but we'll see what the outcome is with him. Next, we got Dave Chappelle. Now, Dave Chappelle, we all love the Chappelle Show, and we all love all the stuff that he's done. He's one of the funniest comedians out there because of his wit and his intelligence, and just the way he puts two and two together, and he connects the dots. In the Oprah interview, he was talking about not wearing a dress. Well, guess what? He already wore the dress. It was early on in his career, and I have a couple of photos later on in this video that I'll show you. And he bounced to Africa because they were trying to get him to do some stuff, and he wasn't feeling it. So he bounced, came back. He disappeared off the map for 10 years. Then he comes back all buffed with his shades on. And if you notice, in the early years, he never wore glasses to cover his eyes. Now all of a sudden, he's covering his eyes, which makes a lot of people believe that it's actually a clone of David, and they may have gotten rid of the real Dave, but that remains to be seen. Next, we got DMX. Now, DMX, he got in, same thing as the rest. He thinks, he was all good, but then he got in and started seeing a bunch of gay stuff and all kind of, homosexual stuff, and he wasn't feeling it. Then he started speaking out against it. He even, in one of his recordings, he even says he sold his soul to the devil and the price was cheap, and I forget what the rest of what he says after that, but basically he admits to selling his soul to the devil. Then next thing we know, he's in prison, and he's going through a lot of drug and legal problems. He's gotten out, so, we'll see how that turns out after they gave him a good spanking in prison there. Kanye West. Kanye West flipped out during the Hurricane Katrina thing. He admits to selling his soul to the devil as well. He got a Happy Meal. He got a couple of toys and a Happy Meal, is what he said. And he flipped out in the Hurricane Katrina live stream when they were talking about Hurricane Katrina, where he says, Bush doesn't like black people. And they all looked at him like, wow, okay, you stepped over the line. So in order to check you, we're going to go ahead and clip your mom. And they clipped his mom, and he just been in and out, flashing on people, getting arrested and doing all kind of stuff. Then the newest one is when he flashed in Sacramento. Then he went in for reprogramming, so we'll see what the outcome. I think they're going to clip him next because he's becoming troublesome. He's he's going to be worth more dead than alive if you don't watch his step. So I wouldn't be surprised if he gets clipped next. Next, we got Shia LaBeouf, that I am not famous anymore. He's walking around with a bag on his head, and he ain't famous no more, and he's got like this stonewall look on his face that he just completely flipped out. Apparently they asked him, or they've done something to him that he just blew his eyeballs back. It blew his mind away. Because at this particular time in his career, he's walking around with his bag on the head talking about, I don't want to be famous no more. But that, no, you know, Dave Chappelle said it. You can be infamous, but you can't be unfamous. I mean, once you're out there, you're out there. So, I don't know. But we'll wait and see what happens with LaBouffe. I haven't heard anything else on him. But this was an episode where he was claiming that he wasn't famous anymore. Obviously, some weird behavior. But there you go. Next, we got Corey Feldman. Now, Corey Feldman, sitting in an interview with an ABC vato, was saying that the biggest and nastiest problem at Hollywood for children was the rings that they got in Hollywood, you know, of you know, messing with little boys and, you know, playing with pee-pees and wee-wees and all that junk. And that him and Corey Haim were surrounded by them when they were children. And didn't even know it. So he says that's the worst, that's the worst problem in Hollywood that he's aware of. And, you know, a lot of people with a lot of power, because there's no restrictions. I mean, they're, you know, anything they want to do with their evil hearts, you know, since they have so much power and money, they can do so. And we have Corey Feldman with some, you know, first-hand testimony on that ABC broadcast. You can find it on YouTube somewhere if you haven't seen it already. Lauryn Hill got in with the Fugees, and she was jumping around, and she was coming up, and she's really smart and bright and pretty fine to boot. But they were trying to get her to be down with the program, and she's like, hell no, I ain't doing that to my people. Oh, yes, you are. She says, oh, no, I'm not. Which led to them basically caving in her career. She still got skills for days, but they caved in her career. They sicked the IRS on her. They pretty much broke her down, threw her in jail for a little bit, I believe. I'm not sure. I didn't research it all thoroughly, but yeah, they did some pretty nasty stuff, and then she kind of, you know, she disappeared for a while because, you know, she wasn't really down with what they were trying to get her to do. But she's a strong sister, and I hope, you know, I pray to God that everything works out for her, you know. But they pretty much destroyed her career. Next, we got Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid got busted for squatting on his own property in Santa Barbara or down there in L.A. somewhere, him and his wife, and supposedly skipping out on some hotel bills and what have you. But then he started talking about all the star whackers, which he was saying that was killing off a lot of stars and getting at their money. A lot of them are worth more dead than alive. And ultimately, he had to bounce out to Canada, and he stayed over there for 5 years because he was afraid for his life, him and his wife's life. And he came back, and then they arrested him, and then he got acquitted, and I don't know, I guess they fixed it. But he'd been through an ordeal, you know, as you can see in this photo that he had, he wasn't doing too hot. So he bounced out of there. But ultimately, he came back, and we'll see how it turns out in the future. Next, we got Martin Lawrence. Now, in an interview that Dave was on in the actor studio, he mentions that Martin Lawrence was waving a street in the gun, running around talking about they're trying to kill me. In another interview I saw, this was on an Arsenio video, Martin Lawrence was talking about trying to help his people, trying to come up and trying to do some positive things. And as I've stated before in a previous video, they can't have their artists doing good deeds. That's totally against what their whole agenda is. The agenda is to control us, is to keep track of us, to try to, you know, we're cattle to them, supposedly. And their whole agenda is to keep track of us and to treat us in that manner, which most of us don't like. So anyway, I threw Martin in there. You know, he has not really spoken out. He's been pretty quiet, but you know, he was acting weird there for a minute. Okay. So now let's move on to the second page of let's move on to the next page. Okay, on this page we see all the people that have died. that got taken out, or they're taken out and hiding under aliases or something. Okay, well, first off, we got Prince. We just lost Prince this last year, and it was a major shock that he's only 57 years old. He's got everything he's super sharp, but yet he doesn't have a will. That don't even make no sense. And then he's out in the front of a Walgreens riding a bike, and there ain't no crowds around him. Now, how can he just be riding around? Because that's the story. He was riding around on a bike in front of the Walgreens, and there was no people around. Well, I don't know. Maybe it's because it was set up and they actually murdered him. You know, he started to speak out on certain topics. He was trying to change his lifestyle. He won the case against Warner Brothers, which probably didn't sit well with them. As soon as he got his royalties back, boom, he comes up. They clipped him. Next, we got Mikey Jackson. Now, his sister LaToya talking about they were controlling him. They didn't allow any phones in his house. You know, they pretty much controlled him. It turns out one hypothesis is that it was a clone and the nose was falling off, and that's why they kept having to keep working on his face. That he got really burnt bad in that Pepsi commercial when his hair caught on fire, and that he actually got burnt up. Now that one is kind of hard since hard to believe because, I mean, I know he got burnt, but it was on the back of his head. Now I don't see how his face got burnt up. He claims that the guy came out on Larry King Live, and that was some burn victim dude that looks like Michael Jackson. It could be real, but I don't know. That remains to be seen. He also had a lot to do, billions in Sony, and then he had the Beatles catalog that he bought. But there was no way they were going to let a black dude own the white dude's catalog. Needless to say, he started to speak out. He was tired of all the stuff, all the controlling, all the pressure and all the crap. And next thing we know, he croaked over. They killed him. Murray dude got him. And he's dead. Pimp C was a rapper around there, and then he started talking about, we got to stop with the boo boo, man. And he's talking about, you know, they were speaking on negative things, and the drug dealers were fake, and you know they're coming to Atlanta, blah blah blah. So the Pimp C article, the Pimp C video. And he was speaking out against them, and they just said, well, you know, we don't really like this dude anyway, so let's just clip him, and they did. And he wound up coming up short, and it was a wrap for him. And they just did away with him because he wasn't really, he got in, but he was a problem, and they took him out. Now, we got Old Dirty Bastard. Now, Old Dirty Bastard was running around talking about that Bush and them were trying to get him. And he says, man, it's on a different level. And he's looking around on a couple of videos. He's looking around like it's Bush and them up. You know, that it was that type of, they were following him. They must have been putting hella pressure on him for whatever reason. I never really did get the true story on him. But the only thing I know is the next thing we know, he's gone. So they got him eventually. And, you know, so they took him out because he was trying to, you know, he found out what was going on and was trying to speak publicly, and they clipped him before he could. Tupac. Now, we all know what happened to Tupac. That was another iconic rapper, you know, very intelligent. He was quick with the rhymes. He had massive skills. And he was always talking about kill Illuminati, and, you know, he was talking about, they were messing with him, arresting him, and kept hating on him and stuff. And he kept falling for it, and he was just a loudmouth, and they just couldn't handle it, so they finally just set him up and took him out. Some say he's still alive, but I think not. I think they took him out because he's a big mouth, and he had too much influence with the people, and they knew it. So he was a danger to them, so they clipped him. Next we got Heath Ledger. Now, Heath Ledger didn't really speak out about nothing, but he was definitely not feeling what was going on in the movie industry. I think it was after the Brokeback Mountain thing where they pretty much forced him to be a homo boy on screen with that other vato. So that really didn't sit well with him. Next thing we know, he's on the Batman series. Was it the Batman, the Dark Knight movie? And shortly after that, he winds up dead in his hotel room from overdose. But in an interview, he was talking about he feels okay with dying because his daughter, he's leaving his daughter behind. So it's like they already knew. He already knew his time was up because he wasn't obeying what they were trying to tell him to do, and he wasn't feeling it. So he already knew death was coming. It's around there on YouTube somewhere. You can find it where he claims that he feels better about dying. So he even spoke about it in an interview before he actually died. Here we have Joan Rivers. Well, we all know what happened to Joan Rivers. She spoke out against Obama and Mr. Tranny Man over there. And about a month or two later, she has an emergency biopsy, throat biopsy or whatever. And then some mysterious doctor pops up out of nowhere and conducts the surgery. And boop, they clip her and she's gone. And it just so happens that the organ that she needed work on, which was her throat, was the same organ that she used to snitch out Obama, and she got clipped for it. So next we got Bernie Mac. Now Bernie Mac was messing around with the Kings of Comedy about those Steve Harvey and all of them sellout scumbags. Even though they funny and they got skills or whatever, but they completely sold out, and I think they chipped this vato. Because he kept saying, they doing this to me, man. I'm hurting bad. In that one video where Yash Karai was talking about it, I believe it's true that they sold him out, but he kept talking because they kept taking him to those cloning labs and all that underground stuff. And he just couldn't hang with what was going on. And finally, he was trying to speak out, but they kind of knew what was going on, and they just clipped him. Took him out. Amy Winehouse kind of was on her own. She had some skills. She was way different than the average artist. She had some pretty, cool style, like 50s and 60s mixed with current stuff. So it was old and new mixed together, which is what a lot of artists do. In one interview, they asked her to make the pyramid, and she says no. And then next thing we know, she's dead of a drug overdose, and we lose her too, So, wow. And this is just only 18 people, and there's a lot more to this list. I just picked these people just to, because it's long enough as it is. Here's a couple other slides I want to show you. Okay, here's Mr. Davey Chappelle wearing a dress. He's already wearing a dress. It's not like, but this was early in his career. Whoopi Goldberg helped him get this movie role. So they stuck him in a dress right at the beginning, and that's when he started doing Con Air, and he did that movie with Tom Hanks. I forget which one, Sleepless in Seattle, I think it was, or whatever, or You Got Mail, or I think it was You Got Mail. Then that's when he did all the other movies, but they got him in a dress and they made him take the oath before he even got in there. And the reason I say that is because here he is throwing up the 666. This is the stand-up show, I think in San Francisco. This was the one where he's in San Francisco, and so he's throwing up the 666 right there, just real quick. He did it real fast, so it really, you really didn't notice. But he threw up the 666 right there. Then he's over here doing the same thing, but it's backwards, so you can't really tell. But this is in the Kill 'Em Softly movie. I mean, not the movie, but the stand-up comedy concert in 2000. So it turns out that Davey Chappelle was throwing up signs and stuff, And, you know, he was down with them, but apparently they wanted to push him forward, and he wasn't feeling it. Apparently they were trying to get him to do a bunch of other nasty stuff that he just didn't like, and that's what he bounced, and he came back, and now he's this buff dude with glasses on. He's hiding his eyes, because in the early years he never hid his eyes. Now all of a sudden he's hiding his eyes, which makes us believe that it's not the same Dave. Maybe this particular Dave is gone and they cloned him, but that's a separate issue. Now, here's this guy. I just watched a movie called Walking Tall, and this is a man that came back from the Navy. I mean, from the Marines. He came back walking tall as sheriff in McNairy County. This is Buford Pusser. He came back from the armed forces back to his hometown. Turns out his hometown was just rotten again. It just got totally corrupted. He went down to the casino, and then he caught him like cheating. Then a bunch of stuff happens, and he just, you know, they wind up getting into a big nasty fight, and then they cut him up like really bad, and they leave him for dead. Long story short, they wind up electing this guy sheriff because they found out that he was an upstanding citizen, and throughout the course of it, he ultimately dies in a car crash. Let's read on the next slide what happens. Okay. In 1957, he moved to Chicago, where he was a local wrestler, Buford the Bull. He married his wife Pauline on December 5th, 1959. He was Adamsville police chief and constable from 1962 to 1964. After incumbent Sheriff James Dickey was killed in a freak auto accident, Pusser was then elected sheriff to McNairy County. Becoming the youngest sheriff in Tennessee's history, Pusser promptly began trying to eliminate Dixie Mafia and State Line Mob. Okay. Pusser survived several assassination attempts. Hathlock fired on Pusser with a concealed .38 pistol. Pusser returned fire and killed Hathcock. Already a local hero, Pusser's war on the State Line Mob was brought to national prominence when his wife Pauline was killed August 12, 1967, during an assassination ambush intended for Pusser. Pusser named Kirk C. McCord Nix Jr. as the contractor of his wife's killers. Although neither Nix nor anyone else ever charged with the crime, Pusser shot and killed and then intoxicated Charles Russell Hamilton December 25, 1968, after he responded to a complaint that Hamilton had threatened his landlord with a gun. Pusser was ineligible for election in 1970 due to term limit. He was defeated in his bid for sheriff in 1972. Pusser blamed the loss of incumbent Sheriff Clinton Coleman in part of the controversy surrounding the making of his semi-biographical movie Walking Tall. He was reelected as constable Adamsville by majority voters, served 2 more years from 1970 to 1972. Pusser died on August 24, 1974, injuries sustained in one-car automobile accident. Pusser had contracted with Bing Crosby Production in Memphis to portray himself in the sequel Walking Tall that evening. Returning home from McNairy County Fair in his specially modified Corvette, Pusser struck an embankment speed that ejected him from the vehicle, and the car caught fire and burned. So basically, this guy went and he started to do what was right, because he couldn't hang with all the corruption, you know, and they would try to corrupt him, and he wouldn't let himself get corrupted. And ultimately, they kept at him until they finally got him. So, with all that said, basically is this: okay, why are all the stars flipping out? I mean, that was just a handful there. But why are they all saying the same thing? How Hollywood is towed back and they're all flipping out and they're trying to get out, and they sold to the devil. They're admitting to selling, they sold to the devil. Mariah Carey, the newest Mariah Carey thing where she embarrasses herself in the New Year's Eve thing, and Shia LaBeouf has the bag on his head. I mean, what are these people, or what are they into that makes them act this way? Is it all coincidental and they're all sent out to act like weird like that? I don't think so. I think it's real. I think all the nasty stuff behind the scenes that we can't see out here in the public is real. I mean, we're getting glimpses of it, but we don't know exactly what's happening back there. But all I can tell you is this, that you better get your balls on, like Pusser, you know. He stood for what was right and they killed him. So you better have a big set of balls, because if you're standing for what was right, it might cost you your life. And for the actors and artists out there, the devil can't take your soul. You can't sell your soul. I mean, but maybe I'm wrong. But according to Jesus, everybody is welcome at his table. There is a way out if you're still alive, but it'll cost you your life. You're gonna have to sacrifice your physical life. I mean, actually living to dying, but at least you'll die and have a chance to go to heaven if you can grasp the fact that Jesus is real. You have to first realize that he's real and he died for your sins, and take him on as your Savior and work from that point. DMX found that out in prison. Now he's trying, but he's dealing with his own personal demons. He's struggling or whatever, what have you. A lot of artists want out, but they just don't know how, because they feel that it's impossible to get out of the situations that they put themselves through, because they pierce themselves with sorrows chasing money, because money is the root of all kinds of evil, which makes the Bible correct. Anyway, I just wanted to make this video to kind of put this out and let y'all know, you know, look, it's funny how they're calling us crazy. We're conspiracy theorists. Oh, you're conspiracy tinfoil hat wearing conspiracy theorists. They're crazy. I didn't tell Martin to run around the thing talking about, with a gun, talking about they trying to kill me. I didn't do that. I didn't tell Davey Chappelle to sign a $50 million contract, then bounce to Africa, then come back hella muscle bound wearing shades, when before he did none of those things. Didn't tell Mariah Carey to be lip syncing on the New Year's Eve thing. She wasn't even in the list. I didn't tell Prince to die at 57, and then, you know, ride a bike in Walgreens when there's not a big ass crowd around him. I didn't tell Mikey Jackson to get on stage and say that the history books are wrong and that they're liars and manipulators, and for him to keep messing with his nose until it fell off. So we're not telling these people to do these things, yet they're doing them anyway. So who's really crazy? Is it them or us? Maybe we're crazy because we're looking and seeking the truth. I mean, for reals. Not the phony baloney, piece of God, not that phony baloney truth. We're seeking for the real truth. Maybe that's why we're crazy, because we're trying to find out what's really going on around this joint. Okay? So, if they're capping on you like they've been capping on me, just take it in stride. It's not a big deal. That means you're onto something. But just, you know, just get prayed up and get God on your side for some protection, because you're going to need it. Because if you're standing for the truth, you're going to have to be willing to lose your life for it. It may come to that. Anyway, I just want to put this video together and to let you all know that God is with you. God loves you. Jesus Christ loves you. He died for our sins, and he is the truth, the way, and the life. Don't let anybody else tell you anything different. You know, that's my statement, and I'm going to stand by it, and that's what I'm about, and that's what I be talking about here on Real Talk Presents. Anyway, this is going to do it for this video. I'm going to go ahead and hop off this thing, and I'm going to catch up with you guys next time.